This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
A new Biden administration policy will give roughly 500,000 immigrants a pathway to citizenship for them and their children. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Wildfires in the West send residents evacuating and firefighters into a daily relentless inferno. I'm Jim Roope in Los Angeles.
Former President Trump rallies in Wisconsin and addresses reports about his thoughts on Milwaukee. I'm Clayton Neville.
Primaries are held in 3 states. We'll have the winners and the losers, and a surprise in Virginia.
On Wall Street, it's quiet for the Juneteenth holiday, but we're going to catch you up on what's been happening in the markets and more. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
The man who killed 5 people at a Colorado nightclub has pleaded guilty to federal hate crimes. I'm Mike Hempen.
Justin Timberlake was arrested for driving while intoxicated in the Hamptons. Julie Walker, New York.
All ahead on America in the Morning. From Capitol Hill to the southern border, there's mixed reaction to the newest immigration policy from the Biden administration protecting undocumented spouses from deportation. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
We're talking about American citizens and their families to keep them together. We're talking about young people who contribute. They are contributing to the economy. They are contributing to their communities. We want to make sure we keep that talent here. And so that is why we're taking this action. We can do both. We can secure the border, as we did with announcing the executive order, and we could also protect American families.
A new Biden administration policy will give roughly 500,000 immigrants who are married to American citizens but lack legal status in the United States a pathway to citizenship for them and their children. President Joe Biden announced the move at a DACA event on Tuesday.
For those wives or husbands and their children who have lived in America for a decade or more but are undocumented, this action will allow them to file the paperwork for legal status in the United States. Allow them to work while they remain with their families in the United States.
Democrats like Elizabeth Warren complimented the president's move.
The president, once again, is doing what Joe Biden does best. He is using his tools to try to advance the values of the American people. And that means treating our families as important and helping those families that have mixed legal status.
While Republicans like Bill Cassidy call it contradictory.
So I think all these are both him trying to have his cake and eat it too. In the one sense, saying he's going to shut the border down, but in the other sense, reassuring his progressive left that he's still going to be sensitive to letting people in. Folks, I'm not interested in playing politics with the border or immigration. I'm interested in fixing it. I said it before. And I'll say it again today. I will work with anyone to solve these problems. That's my responsibility as president. That's our responsibility as Americans. Because the simple truth is, there's not a single damn thing we can't do if we put our minds to it. We got to remember who in the hell we are. We're the United States of America.
Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Nearly 24 wildfires are burning in the West. 1 person has died in New Mexico. The majority of the blazes are in California. Jim Roope reports from Los Angeles.
The so-called post-fire burning north of Los Angeles in Gorman is nearing 16,000 acres, but some progress has been made.
We're throwing everything we have at it.
L.A. County Fire Captain Sheila Kelleher-Kirko says the winds have died down a bit on this fire that broke out over the weekend, allowing fire crews to wrap their arms around nearly a quarter of it. About 1,200 people had to be evacuated at the peak of the blaze, and the danger is not yet over. Hotter temperatures ahead here. Hot temperatures and winds plaguing firefighters battling the so-called Sites Fire in Colusa County near Sacramento that has grown to more than 10,000 acres. And remember, an acre is roughly the size of a football field, so imagine 10,000 football fields burning. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, known as CAL FIRE, the state's fire agency, says its agency alone has already responded to more than 2,100 wildfires this year. In New Mexico, fires there have turned deadly. At least 1 person is confirmed dead from the South Fork and salt fires that have combined to scorch some 20,000-plus acres near the village of Ruidoso and the Mescalero Apache Reservation about 180 miles south of Albuquerque. The entire town of Ruidoso has been evacuated, roughly 5,000 people. There's no containment on either of those fires. New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham declared a state of emergency yesterday, eliminating a lot of red tape.
That means resources can flow readily. We have an emergency manager tells us they need something, that gets addressed, and resource questions or money isn't a problem.
A federal state of emergency has been requested, and that has not yet been granted, at least at the filing of this report. And it's not just about the flames. Ralph Borman with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District says it's also about the smoke.
There's very tiny particles that you can breathe in that go into your lungs, as well as other things that are burning, other ingredients to that, the burning object.
So that's why the warning for people with compromised breathing issues: stay indoors. Wildfires are also burning in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Colorado, Utah, Arizona. It's going to be a rough summer in the West. Jim Roope, Los Angeles.
Crime and voter fraud? Trump says this city is horrible. When America in the Morning returns after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. Update on the nation's weather and that tropical rainmaker in the south. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Adam Sadberry with the Wednesday outlook.
A developing tropical rainstorm located in the western Gulf of Mexico continues to spread rounds of heavy flooding rainfall from southern Louisiana through southern Texas. This rainstorm is on track to continue strengthening into a tropical storm by this afternoon. Should this be the case, it will then be given the name Alberto as the first named tropical storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. While tropical storm warnings are active along the southern and central Texas coastline, this storm is expected to make landfall in northeastern Mexico, well south of the Texas border by tonight. That being said, this storm will still produce a risk for flooding across much of southern Texas. Elsewhere, a narrow corridor of thunderstorms stretching from the Central Plains all the way through the Great Lakes and interior Northeast will be capable of producing severe impacts this afternoon and evening. Fueled by hot and humid conditions along this boundary, any storm can be capable of producing flooding downpours, hail, and damaging wind gusts. For the rest of the Northeast and Midwest, a building heat dome will continue to expand. Widespread high temperatures into the lower and mid-90s will be common, with AccuWeather real-field temperatures exceeding 100 degrees this afternoon for many. This intense heat wave will lead to an increased risk of heat-related illness for over 100 million people. Stay hydrated and avoid prolonged activity outdoors if possible. In the Northwest, cool and largely dry conditions will prevail following the passage of a cold front yesterday. Seasonably hot and dry conditions will persist for most of the Southwest and interior of California. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Adam Sadberry.
Remember, follow us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Former President Donald Trump is addressing reports about his feelings toward the city of Milwaukee ahead of next month's Republican National Convention. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports.
Former President Trump held a rally yesterday in Racine, Wisconsin, and was quick to address reports that he called Milwaukee a horrible city as it prepares to host the RNC.
You know, I love Milwaukee. I was the one that picked Milwaukee, I have to tell you. I was the one that picked it. These lying people that they say, oh, he doesn't like Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee.
Trump told the crowd that his plan is to win Wisconsin and blasted President Biden over his recent action at the southern border.
He's going to formally grant a mass amnesty to millions of illegal aliens that came into our country. And you have people that have been working for 10 years to try and come in legally, and they just keep working. Under this program, a deluge of illegals will be given immediate green cards and put on the fast track to rapid citizenship so they can vote. I think a lot of them are going to vote for me. You want to know the truth?
As the presumptive Republican presidential nominee rallied in Wisconsin, his campaign was denying reports that he's planning on staying in Chicago and commuting to Milwaukee for the RNC. I'm Clayton Neville.
Primaries were held in 3 states Tuesday. In Virginia, retired Navy captain and Trump-backed candidate Hung Cao won the Senate GOP primary and will take on Democrat Tim Kaine this November. In one of the most watched races, Bob Good, who chairs the conservative House Freedom Caucus, will likely face a recount in a too-close-to-call matchup with John McGuire, who had the support of both Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump. Eugene Vidman, who played a role in the former president's first impeachment, won in the Democrats' 7th district. In Oklahoma, 11-term Congressman Tim Cole fought off 4 challengers to win his primary. In Georgia, Chuck Hand, a convicted January 6 defendant who walked out of a televised debate, lost a GOP runoff for a House seat. America in the Morning continues. The baseball world has lost a legend as one of the most electrifying players in history has passed away. Willie Mays was a 24-time All-Star and hit 660 home runs in his career. His dramatic catch in the '54 World Series went down as one of the best ever. Audio courtesy Major League Baseball. Two-time MVP and member of the Hall of Fame, Willie Mays was 93. When we return on America in the Morning, holiday car shopping after these messages. You're with America in the Morning. The Business Report is sponsored by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street's quiet this morning as the financial markets are closed for this Juneteenth holiday. But one thing is trading today. Crypto. You can buy it anytime. Bitcoin trades 24/7. A lot of people have an S&P 500 index fund in a retirement account. That index is up 14% so far this year.
We think the market is going to grind higher. I think there's probably going to be some more election uncertainty and political uncertainty as we head into the second half of the year.
KKR's Henry McVeigh on CNBC. Retailers would love it if you get out there and shop today. Many of the big chains have been advertising lower prices to try to goose sales. The spring home buying season fades away today. Summer arrives tomorrow. Spring was lackluster, but there are glimmers of hope on the horizon, maybe.
Inventory has ticked up, but we're still in a huge housing deficit. Buyers are waiting a bit, and sellers are still holding off because they don't want to let go of that 2 and 3% mortgage rate that they locked in, and they have a lot of equity in their homes.
Brown Harris Stevens CEO Bess Friedman on CNBC. Disney Pixar hoping you hit the movies today, especially with extreme heat slamming the eastern U.S. Inside Out 2 set a record at the box office last weekend, and Hollywood would love to see that keep going.
Now, there are some big franchise releases coming, including Deadpool and Wolverine and Despicable Me 4 and Twisters from Universal. The summer box office is seen as the most important time of the year for Hollywood. It's when big budget investments pay off and build franchises.
CNBC's Julia Borston. Universal's Despicable Me 4 comes out July 3rd. Universal's Twisters comes out July 18th, and Universal is a sister company to CNBC.
Holiday car buying shoppers. What do they need to know?
2 things, actually. Hybrids are hot. There are many affordable models out there, and you don't have to go full electric if you're not ready yet. But the second thing is better EV batteries are coming, as are more charging stations, and EVs are going to be much more affordable.
You've got a lower price Tesla model that supposedly is coming early next year. Chevy Equinox is going to be starting in the mid-30s. That's the base model. Add in $7,500. The federal tax credit brings it under $30,000. Jeep may have a $25,000 EV. That's just the start. And then you have some of the foreign automakers who will also be coming in with lower priced EVs. This wave of vehicles that are coming, it will have people saying, okay, I'm ready to make that transition.
CNBC's Phil LeBeau. On today's watch list, data coming out today, mortgage applications numbers for last week and home builder sentiment. And it's the final day of spring.
Well, it's felt like summer in many parts of the country already. CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, popular pop singer gets processed into the pokey after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The shooter who killed 5 people in a Colorado LGBTQ nightclub faced a judge and learned his fate. Correspondent Mike Hempen reports.
24-year-old Anderson Lee Aldridge already is serving life in prison after pleading guilty to state charges last year in the 2022 shooting. Federal prosecutors have focused on proving that the attack at Club Q was premeditated and fueled by bias. Aldridge entered the guilty pleas under a deal with prosecutors that allows him to avoid the death penalty. Instead, he'll be sentenced to more multiple life sentences for the hate crimes, plus 190 years on gun charges and other counts. U.S. District Judge Charlotte Sweeney, the first openly gay federal judge in Colorado, says she'll hear victim testimony before deciding whether to accept the sentencing agreement. I'm Mike Hempen.
A pop music superstar spent the night in jail after being arrested for DWI. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Justin Timberlake was arrested for driving while intoxicated in the Hamptons just after midnight Monday. Police say he ran a stop sign and veered out of his lane. A report from police in Sag Harbor, New York on Long Island's East End say the pop star's eyes were bloodshot and glassy. Alcohol was on his breath, and he performed poorly on all standard field sobriety tests. According to the document, he told police he only had one martini and was following friends home. Timberlake was driving a 2025 BMW and refused a breathalyzer. He was held overnight, arraigned Tuesday, and released without bail. His next court date is July 26th. Timberlake has some upcoming concert dates booked in Chicago and Manhattan. Julie Walker, New York.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay. Production assistant Christian Matos. Our senior producer is Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
Americans reacting to record-breaking heat. I'm Clayton Neville.
Boeing gets a grilling by senators on Capitol Hill. I'm John Stolness in Washington.
One of baseball's best has passed away. Ben Thomas will have that story.
Tips from the public and street justice led to an arrest of a suspect in Queens, New York. I'm Sue Aller.
The pastor of a Texas megachurch has resigned after a woman said he had sexually abused her. I'm Norman Hall.
Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million vehicles. I'm Rita Folway.
Adobe could be forced to change the agreement for their software suite. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
What to watch on Juneteenth and where to find it. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. Welcome back. You're with America in the Morning. A heat wave is defined as any 3-day period with a temperature of 90 degrees or above. And let's find out where that's happening again today. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Adam Sadberry.
A building heat dome will continue to expand across the Northeast, Midwest, and much of the Mid-Atlantic today. Widespread high temperatures into the lower and mid-90s will be common, with AccuWeather real field temperatures exceeding 100 degrees for many this afternoon when factoring in humidity. For those impacted, stay hydrated and use extreme caution if spending extended periods of time outdoors. For select areas from the Central Plains to the Great Lakes and interior Northeast, a narrow corridor of thunderstorms will ignite this afternoon and evening. Fueled by hot and humid conditions, any storm can produce flooding downpours, hail, and damaging wind gusts. For the Northwest, cool and largely dry conditions will prevail following the passage of a cold front yesterday. Seasonably hot and dry conditions will also persist for most of the Southwest and interior of California. In the Gulf of Mexico, a budding tropical rainstorm has spawned tropical storm warnings across the southern and central coastline of Texas. This storm is expected to strengthen and be given the name Alberto by this afternoon, while also spreading heavy rain from southern Louisiana through southern Texas. An increased flood risk exists into tomorrow across the southern and southeastern portion of Texas, where heaviest rainfall is expected. That's the weather across America. In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, it will be hot and humid with sunshine and an afternoon high of 91. And for Albuquerque, New Mexico, mostly sunny with a warm breeze, the high 94. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Adam Sadberry.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. Record-breaking heat continues to be felt from the central U.S. to the Northeast. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the impact on 20 states and tens of millions of Americans.
From the Midwest into Ohio to New England up to Maine, tens of millions of Americans are under heat advisories or warnings as temperatures reach above 90 degrees, and in many places it feels even hotter.
We encourage everyone experiencing extreme temperatures this week to check in on their neighbors, drink plenty of water, and look for cooling centers if needed.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre asking Americans to heed all local warnings.
Stay alert. Listen to local officials and weather alerts, and visit heat.gov for more information on how to stay safe.
In New York, an emergency operations center set up by Governor Kathy Hochul.
I cannot emphasize enough that extreme heat can be deadly. New Yorkers need to know how to stay safe. Feels like temperature is going to be over 100 degrees.
During a video call, the governor urged neighbors to check on neighbors.
Let's remember, we look out for each other. That's what New Yorkers do. Not just our own families, but your neighbors, the elderly, medically vulnerable individuals that may live near you.
Cooling centers now open in New York and in big cities like Dallas and Chicago, where temps at O'Hare Airport flirted with 100 degrees already this week. Dr. Jill Wagner is a pediatrician in Texas. She warns of hot objects like playground equipment, which she says can be extremely dangerous for kids.
And the thing that I always tell my patients and family and friends, if you're going to the playground, before you put that baby or that little person on there, go and feel that equipment, even if it's made out of something that you don't think would be very hot, plastic or something like that. You want to make sure that you feel it so you can tell the temperature or judge the temperature of it. That's number one. Number two, be aware that there's metal bolts and other things that may be there that you may not be thinking about that could be hot as well.
While a summer heat wave is nothing new, it's the early arrival with the official start of summer not till tomorrow that's catching some by surprise. That and the vast amount of ground that the heat wave is covering, stretching from Maine to Texas. I'm Clayton Neville.
The head of Boeing on the hot seat in a hearing before the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee to answer questions about the company's safety record. John Stolnis has more from Capitol Hill.
Senators from both sides of the aisle grilling CEO David Calhoun in the wake of an incident back in January in which a panel blew out of a Boeing 737 MAX during an Alaska Airlines flight, the latest in a string of incidents for the embattled company. Calhoun telling senators they are doing everything possible
to ensure the specific circumstances that led to this accident could never happen again. Importantly, we went beyond to look comprehensively at our quality and manufacturing systems. And we slowed things down dramatically.
Calhoun also turned around to the crowd seated behind him and apologized to some of the family members of the 346 people who died in two crashes of Boeing 737 MAX jetliners in 2018 and 2019.
And I apologize for the grief that we have caused.
Ahead of the hearing, a 204-page Senate report included testimony from a whistleblower named Sam Mohawk, who said he was worried defective parts were being used in the MAX 737s and charged Boeing hid evidence after being told the FAA would be inspecting one of its plants. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal says Boeing officials have tried to pressure whistleblowers to stay silent about safety concerns.
After whistleblower John Barnett raised his concerns about missing parts, he reported that his supervisor called him 19 times in one day and 21 times another day.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley's questioning was most contentious, claiming Calhoun was not focused on safety but on profits, and questioning why he deserves the $32.8 million he made in salary last year.
Why haven't you resigned?
Senator, I'm sticking this through. I'm proud of having taken the job. I'm proud of our safety record, and I am very proud of our Boeing people.
You're proud of this safety record?
I am proud of every action we have taken.
Every action you've taken?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Senator Blumenthal said there is mounting evidence the Justice Department should prosecute Boeing officials for violating a 2021 settlement with the government. John Stolnis, Washington.
He was one of baseball's most electrifying players, Willie Mays, who played in 24 All-Star games and hit 660 career home runs, has passed away. Ben Thomas looks back at his groundbreaking career.
The opening game of the 1954 World Series. Jack Brickhouse calling Willie Mays' over-the-shoulder catch that became baseball's most celebrated defensive feat. Mays' family and the San Francisco Giants have announced the Say Hey Kid has died. Exuberant and electrifying on the field, he hit more than 600 home runs and had more than 3,000 hits in his Hall of Fame career. In an interview with Sports Byline USA in 2000, he described his arrival in the majors.
Being a player and being a star in the outfield in New York, it was kind of scary, but we had three good teams at that particular, in that area. There's never going to be a city, I think, that have three good teams like that, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Giants.
President Barack Obama awarded him the Medal of Freedom in 2015.
A few years ago, Willie rode with me on Air Force One. I told him then what I'll tell all of you now. It's because of giants like Willie that someone like me could even think about running for president.
In 2000, at a dedication ceremony for a plaza in San Francisco named in his honor, Mays had this reflection.
I'm the luckiest man in the world for having so many friends that I realized I didn't have.
His son, Michael Mays, says his father passed away peacefully and among loved ones Tuesday afternoon. Willie Mays was 93. I'm Ben Thomas.
From New York City, street justice. In Texas, pastors fall from grace. Those stories and more as America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. I'm John Trout. It's being called street justice in New York City. An illegal immigrant suspected of the rape of a 13-year-old girl was tracked down by neighborhood residents and held for police. Sue Aller has more on the story.
Street justice for a brutal attack of two teenagers this past weekend in Queens, New York. Early Tuesday morning, a group of people who live close by recognized the suspect from police photos, which included a very specific tattoo on his chest. Jeffrey Flores and Angelo Soretti were just a few of the people who held the suspect down before calling 911.
I seen him walking into the store and I had to take him out. And I told everybody, yo, this is the rapist, I punched him, I kicked him a little bit, I ain't gonna lie. He started yelling, help, help, help in Spanish. I'm like, yeah, that's what the little girls were saying.
According to police, 25-year-old Christian Giovanni Inga Landi, who came to America in 2021 from Ecuador, sexually assaulted a 13-year-old girl and threatened both the girl and a 13-year-old boy with a machete-style knife in Casino Park. He then forced them into a wooded area and tied them up with a shoelace. NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny said Tuesday afternoon that Landy did not deny the allegations.
The perpetrator has made statements after waiving Miranda rights. He IDs himself in video that was shown to him.
The children were taken to the hospital and were last said to be in stable condition. In New York, I'm Sue Aller.
No, says a judge to lawyers for Donald Trump in an attempt to get his gag order lifted in his hush money case. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
New York's top court has declined to hear Donald Trump's gag order appeal in his hush money case, leaving the restrictions in place following the former president's felony conviction last month. In its ruling, the Court of Appeals on Tuesday found the order does not raise substantial constitutional issues that would warrant its intervention. The decision is the latest legal setback for the Republican frontrunner for president who has repeatedly railed against the gag order. The order prevents Trump from commenting on witnesses, jurors, and others who were involved in the case, but it could be short-lived. The trial judge is expected to rule soon on a defense request to lift the gag order. Meanwhile, Trump is scheduled to be sentenced in his hush money case July 11th. Julie Walker, New York.
The pastor of a Texas megachurch has left his position following disturbing sexual abuse allegations. Correspondent Norman Hall has the story.
The pastor of a Texas megachurch has resigned after a woman said he had sexually abused her on multiple occasions in the 1980s, beginning when she was 12. The Board of Elders at Gateway Church in suburban Dallas says it accepted the resignation of Robert Morris, the senior pastor and founder. The woman, now 52, says the abuse happened for more than 4 years. Morris, who served on former President Donald Trump's Evangelical Advisory Board, told the Christian Post he was in his early 20s when he was, in his words, involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home where he was staying. I'm Norman Hall.
Major auto recall. Correspondent Rita Foley is in with that.
Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million vehicles to fix a software glitch that can disable the rear-view cameras. A company investigation found that the vehicles have radio software that can inadvertently shut down the cameras. Among the vehicles being recalled, the Jeep Compass, Grand Cherokee, Wagoneer, and Grand Wagoneer SUVs for model years 2022 and 2023. Stellantis says it has no reports of injuries or crashes. The glitch can be fixed with an online software update. You should see a request to accept the update on your media screen. You'll also get a recall notice in the mail. I'm Rita Foley.
Adobe's being sued by the Justice Department for allegedly making it too difficult for subscribers to cancel their annual fees for Photoshop and other programs. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
The U.S. government is suing Adobe for allegedly hiding expensive fees and making it difficult to cancel a subscription. The Justice Department claims that they have harmed consumers by enrolling them in its default and most lucrative subscription plan without clearly disclosing important plan terms. The lawsuit alleges that Adobe hides its terms of its annual paid monthly plan and behind optional text boxes and hyperlinks. Samuel Levine, director of FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, said Adobe traps its customers into years-long subscriptions through hidden early termination fees and numerous cancellation hurdles. In 2012, Adobe went from selling its creative software for lifetime use to charging a monthly fee for its suite of products, including Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, as well as others. Users who try to cancel subscriptions on the phone have complained that their calls or chats were either dropped or disconnected. This frustrated users that had to subscribe in order to use the products to keep their jobs. Add your comments at allthetoptech.tech. I'm Chuck Palm.
We reported earlier on the passing of baseball great Willie Mays at the age of 93. With the latest scores in sports, here's our Robert Workman.
The Stanley Cup Finals are heading back to Edmonton. The Oilers staved off elimination again last night, beating the Panthers 5-3. Connor McDavid with 2 goals and 2 assists. Florida is up 3-2 with Game 6 on Friday night. Baseball, the Phillies put together 4 straight hits in the bottom of the ninth to rally past the Padres 4-3. Nick Castellanos had an RBI book rule double to walk it off. Dodgers scored 7 times in the ninth to upend the Rockies 11-9. Jason Hayward's pinch hit grand slam made it a 1-run game. Then Teoscar Hernandez put LA ahead with a 3-run shot.
All I know as soon as I hit it, it was great, especially because I put the team ahead.
Elsewhere, the Brewers held off the Angels. Center fielder Sal Frelick snagged Taylor Ward's bid for a game-tying home run to end it. Say hey. Carlos Santana's run-scoring pinch-hit single in the bottom of the ninth gave the Twins a win over the Rays. Marlins picked up 2 in the 10th to clip the Cardinals. Cubs got 3 in the 8th to down the Giants. Yankees edged the Orioles in a clash of the teams with the 2 best records in the American League. Mariners topped the Guardians in a battle of AL division leaders. White Sox blanked the Astros. Jonathan Cannon scattered 7 hits over 8 2/3 innings for his first big league win. Diamondbacks shut out the Nationals. Slade Ciccone in the Cones with a 4-hitter. Braves tipped the Tigers. Reds shaded the Pirates. Mets came back to beat the Rangers. Red Sox got by the Blue Jays, and it was the A's over the Royals. At the College World Series, Florida State ousted 4-seed North Carolina. Another elimination game coming up today, Florida against 2-seed Kentucky. That's Wednesday Sports.
Robert Workman. When we return on America in the Morning, commemorating the 19th, after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Theater patrons were left in shock when actor Ian McKellen fell off a stage in London. Entertainment correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports.
85-year-old Ian McKellen was doing a fight scene at London's Noel Coward Theatre in the stage production of Player Kings, based on William Shakespeare's Henry VI plays. Audience member Charlie Johnson says in an interview with Britain's ITN, McKellen lost his footing.
He'd actually landed on an audience member, and he was almost tangled up with whoever it was. So I think there was just quite a lot of confusion. both on the part of the actors and the audience. No one really knew what to do, but it was pretty clear from the way it sounded that he was in a lot of pain, and he'd clearly, seriously injured himself.
Johnson says the theater was evacuated amid McKellen's cries of pain.
There was sort of a step just before the stage ends and the audience begins, and he basically put one foot too far over that step from what it looked like from my angle, basically almost flipped over, went head first into the audience, and immediately sort of blood-curdling screams. He was screaming, "Help me."
Theater staff and 2 doctors in the audience came to McKellen's aid, according to theater management. McKellen is expected to recover fully. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
There are a number of programs on TV and streaming for viewers to commemorate Juneteenth today. Kevin Carr reports.
Today is Juneteenth, the day for remembering the end of slavery on June 19, 1865. The date represents the final enforcement of the Emancipation Proclamation at the end of the Civil War. While celebrated for more than a century by the black community, Juneteenth didn't become a national holiday until 2021. Films directly related to the holiday include Miss Juneteenth on Netflix.
We are expecting greatness.
Why you making me do it? Didn't do nothing for you.
This 2020 drama follows the relationship between a mother and a daughter at a beauty contest.
Pick a card and save Morgan.
What do you mean save Morgan?
The 2023 comedy The Blackening, found on Starz, is a slasher movie send-up that takes place on the weekend of Juneteenth.
Good old-fashioned family barbecue, huh?
The 2022 comedy Block Party, available on Peacock and Tubi, also features Juneteenth as a focal point of community drama. Of course, there are multiple documentaries to watch, including 2022's Juneteenth, Faith and Freedom from PBS, available on YouTube.
On June 19th, 1865, somebody got freedom. Somebody's child got freedom. Somebody's mama got freedom. Somebody's grandmama got freedom.
TV series that have episodes dedicated to the holiday include Blackish on Hulu, Atlanta on Hulu, and High on the Hog on Netflix.
When you understand your history and understand where you come from, that understanding gives you purpose.
I'm Kevin Carr.
That's our show for today, Wednesday, June 19th, 2024. America in the Morning is produced by Jeff McKay. Production assistants Christian Matos. Our senior producer, Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.